how many of you know youth who have come to you and said that practicing Islam is a burden? Practicing Islam is difficult. There are too many rules. There are too many do's and don'ts, haram and halal. And this is a burden for us. This is very difficult to be able to be a Muslim in this day and age. Is this something that you've heard? I have taught youth, I've interacted with youth, and this is a very common thing. This is a very common question. And I think that, or problem or issue, and this is something that a lot of youth will approach imams with, teachers with. And so I want to think about this question and try to understand what are these situations, what are the reasons for this kind of feeling that Islam is a burden, Islam is difficult. Islam is holding us down as if it's chaining us. We want to be free. We want to be released from these chains. Where are these ideas, where are these thoughts coming from? Because if we understand the source of these kinds of ideas, then we can address them and provide a satisfactory solution and help youth who are being led into doubts about Islam. They might become disillusioned with Islam, and when some of them might even leave Islam. So I think this is a related question. Do you think that society as a whole is getting more ordered, more disciplined over time, or less disciplined, less ordered over time?
Less.
Less? How many of you say yes? Less. Society is getting less ordered, less disciplined, more chaos. Okay. So it seems like most of you. How many think it's getting more ordered, more disciplined? Almost no one. No one wants to raise their hand. Okay. So I want to maybe surprise you in saying that actually society is getting more ordered. It's getting more disciplined. People are under a greater amount of control than they have been arguably at any point in the past. Maybe you guys think that society is getting less ordered because you're aware of hadith of the Prophet ﷺ saying that as we approach the Day of Judgment, Yawm al-Qiyamah, immorality will increase, fahisha will spread, killing will increase, liars will be trusted, and trustworthy people will be considered liars. Okay? All of these things that we have read from the Prophet ﷺ about how society will go through moral decline, humanity will go through moral decline as we approach Yawm al-Qiyamah. But there's a difference between morality and order. There's a difference because you can have a very ordered society and very organized people who are organized on batil. They are disciplined on fahisha. They're disciplined on doing the wrong, enjoining wrong, munkar, and forbidding ma'ruf, forbidding what is good. So these are two separate things, order and morality. And we should reflect on, for example, Dajjal, the Antichrist. He's going to have a program, right? This is something that also we hear about and read about in hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ has warned us that this will be among the greatest fitan, trials and tribulations for the believers. And part of that trial is that Dajjal is going to have control. He's going to have a program. And this comes from order. This comes from having discipline. He'll have followers. Followers are disciplined. They follow orders. So I think that in our society, there's more order and more control than ever before. In And why is this relevant? Why is this relevant to the first question? Youth thinking that they're burdened by Islam. There was a case where a younger brother, mashallah, he was a good brother, in high school, and he came with this complaint. Daniel, I feel like Islam is such a burden for me, and I'm tired of following the do's and don'ts. And then I responded like this. I asked him, well, do you go to school? He said, yes. Every morning, are you waking up at a certain time? Yes. Every morning, are you dressing a certain way? Yes. Every morning, are you going to school and avoiding being tardy, being late? I said, yeah, I'm trying to be on time. I said, do you do your work? Do you show up at a certain place at a certain time? Do you obey your teachers? Okay. Do you follow certain kinds of social code, social behavior? I said, yes, I do all of these things. I said, okay, well, these are all responsibilities that you have. These are all burdens that you have. These are all things that you are doing without almost thinking about it. It's just ritualistic every day. So why don't you experience that as a burden? Why don't you experience that as do's and don'ts that are holding you down, that are chaining you out? What's the difference? Why is Islam, why do you feel like Islam, which relatively has much fewer requirements of you, responsibilities of you, than just being a high school student? And then wait until you graduate, and then you have to go to work, and then you have to answer to a boss. You have to go to work at a certain time. You have to dress according to a certain dress code. You have to treat your co-workers a certain way. All of these things are requirements and burdens. And so when I say that society is getting more ordered and more disciplined, it's because look at the amount of laws that we all have to abide by. Right? Even if we want to park on the street, we drive our car, we have to make sure to follow all the rules of the road. If we go and want to park somewhere, we have to make sure that it's legal to park. If we go anywhere, to the supermarket, to the mall, all of these places in society have rules and social requirements and kinds of rituals, dressing in a certain way. There's this idea that, within secular Western society, we have the freedom to dress however we want. We can be free to dress however we want. But despite this, why is it the case that the vast majority of people all dress the same? They all abide by the same fashions. They all abide by the same kinds of shoes and clothes and accessories. Doesn't this indicate that people are blindly following? They're dressing and acting and behaving in a way that's dictated by others? Isn't this the kind of control? Isn't this the kind of burden that you're complaining about when it comes to Islam? When you say, well, why do we have to follow the Imam? Why do we have to listen to what our madhab says or our manhaj says? Why do we have to care about what Allah says to do or not do? You're doing it. You're following all of these requirements when it comes to dunya. But when it comes to Islam, you feel like it is a burden. So we live in a highly ordered society. We live in a society that has so many rules and regulations dictating the smallest aspects of our behavior. But we don't feel like we are chained, or we don't feel like we have this kind of responsibility. So why is this? Is it because we have some weakness? Our kids who are complaining about the burden of Islam, is it some weakness that they have in their hearts? Have they not gone through the correct tarbiyah and discipline to internalize Islam? Maybe. Maybe that is part of the problem. But I think a bigger aspect of the problem is that the structures and the tools and the methods that Islam has built within it to create order and to create discipline and to create following, being good followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those tools and structures have been slowly dismantled. They've been slowly taken apart. So we have to recognize this. We have to recognize this. Because if we don't recognize it, then we're going to become victims of it. We're going to become victims of it. So what do I mean by this? What are some of the tools within Islam to create discipline, to create a love for the Sunnah, a love for the Quran, a love for submitting to Allah? That you submit to Allah and you taste the sweetness of Iman, as opposed to tasting a bitterness that why am I doing this? Why am I forced to be doing this? There are many things in Islam. But I want to just in this short amount of time focus on one thing. And it is called Hisbah. Hisbah, which means enjoining good, commanding good, amr bil ma'ruf, wa nahi 'anil munkar, and forbidding evil. This is something that is so crucial, so important for order and discipline and being a follower. How can you have a follower who does not obey, who does not listen, who thinks that he is a slave and he wants to rebel? How can you have an ummah that is united and moving in a united direction, able to overcome the challenges against the ummah, fight the enemies of the ummah? How can you have that if you don't have order, if you don't have discipline, if you don't have followership? It's required. But to have that, you also have to have Hisbah. You have to have Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi 'anil Munkar. Why? Because that's what authority is. That's what it means to have authority. When someone doesn't do what is required, they have to be accountable for that. So the believers are accountable to each other. That's what it means to enjoin good and forbid evil. And the Prophet ﷺ has told us this in clear hadith. And Allah tells us this in the Quran. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You are the best ummah brought forth for an-nas, for people. You enjoin good, you command good, and you forbid evil, and you believe in Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ said that it is reported that he has said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ. All of you, each of you, is a shepherd. وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. All of you is a shepherd, and each of you is mas'ul, responsible for his flock. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is saying that the imam is the shepherd for his people. The husband is the shepherd for his wife. The wife is the shepherd for her children. The servant is the shepherd for the property of his master. This is responsibility. This is hierarchy and authority. The imam has to be the authority. He leads, and then the people follow the imam. The husband leads and his family follows him. The mother leads and her children follow her. But these things are all being broken down and dismantled in this day and age. All of these things are being attacked. When it comes to husband and wife, the husband is not seen as an authority. He's seen as a servant, actually. He's seen as someone who he shouldn't tell anyone what to do. If he does that, that means he's abusive. That he is trying to be a tyrant and control. So the leadership of the husband, of the father, is being attacked. And we see this in media. We see this in news. That they have pushed this image of a husband who has to obey instead of lead. This is contrary to Islam. In Islam, the husband, as stated in this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and stated in the Quran, الرجال قوامون على النساء, in Surah An-Nisa, that men are قوامون, they're authorities and stewards over women. So there's a clear order. There's a clear hierarchy that is in Islam. This is something that is important. If we flip this, or we create a situation where there's perfect equality, everyone is at the same level, this destroys order. There can be no amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy 'anil munkar. Why should you obey anyone when you're equal to them? You have equal authority. Why are you the leader and I'm not the leader? Why should I be following you? So this creates chaos. So what does the secular society, what does the modern society do? It destroys these relationships. It destroys these relationships and instead says that everyone is a citizen, an equal citizen. Everyone is on the same level. But this is a trick, because what it means is that there's only one authority. One authority meaning the ruler, the secular ruler who controls the country, who sets the laws that everyone has to obey. The only authority is the state, the king, the president. Everyone has to obey that. And if you disobey, then the consequences are extremely severe. Give you the example of the parking ticket. To such an extent, the laws control people's behavior that even if you park too close to a fire hydrant, even 1 foot too close to the fire hydrant, your car can be ticketed. If you don't pay that ticket, then the county can put a lien on your house. What does that mean? That means the county can say that if you don't pay this, we will take over the title to your home. So your home will belong to us. If you don't accept that and you don't vacate your property that now belongs to the state, then the sheriff is going to come knock on your door and he's going to say, get out, you can't live here anymore. If you don't agree to the sheriff, he is authorized to use deadly force. He'll pull out his gun and he can shoot you because you're disobeying. This is all control. This is all force. And people say that, oh, Islam is so barbaric. Oh, Islam is so controlling. So many rules, so many requirements. But it's because we've been blinded to the reality. The reality is that you have systems and people, tyrants, who are setting rules to control, laws to control all people. Every single action, even on your laptop, social media, people have been prosecuted and taken to prison for what they write online. Everything is controlled, everything is monitored. So why don't we experience that? But we think that the guidance of Allah, the guidance of Allah, the Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ is a burden to us. It's because there is this program that is making us think like this, that is conditioning us, brainwashing us to think in this kind of way. Another big way that they are attacking Islam and trying to destroy this order within Islam is by attacking our imams. Saying that if you are following the imam, the only reason that the imam is an imam is because he wants to take advantage of you. He wants to take your money. He wants you to follow him. So people are mistrusting religious leaders. They're mistrusting ulama. They think, well, why is he on the minbar and not me? Why should I trust him? How do I know what he's doing or not doing? They're attacking the ulama. This is a plan. This is their strategy. And they're clear on this. When they colonized the Muslim world, when Europe and the West attacked Muslims, this was one of their strategies for taking control. They had to destroy the structures of Muslim society. They had to get Muslims not to follow their leaders. Don't follow these imams, follow us. Become citizens of the secular state. Become citizens of the British Empire, the French Empire. So they had a plan, and part of this plan was we have to attack the imams and create shubuhat, doubts about their ulama. Because as long as they are following the ulama, as long as they are following their imams, they're not going to come under our control. So this was their strategy. So they created rumors about the ulama, about the imams. They spread lies. And they slowly started to attack the confidence and the trust in the imams and the ulama. So this is how they destroy Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. If you don't trust the imam, how are you going to listen to what he says? When he commands you to do something, to obey Allah, to follow the Sunnah, how can you do that if you don't trust him? If you're not following him? This is how they have been trying to destroy the Muslim world. So what is the solution to this? This is something that is not something that can be affected by just one person or two people. It's something that requires the ummah. It requires everyone together. And this is where unity is important. This is where uniting on haqq and holding on to the sunnah is so important. Fighting against this secularization process, trusting our imams, trusting our senior ulama, loving them, following them, obeying the Quran and Sunnah when Allah says, "Ar-rijalu qawwamun 'ala an-nisa," on recognizing the authority of the husband, of the father, loving your father, loving your husband. Husbands, leading. You have to lead. You have to lead with wisdom and love and care and good counsel and hikmah. You have to be the leader. If you're not the leader, how are they going to follow you? How is your family going to follow you? Mothers, are you leading your children? Are you authorities of your children? Are you giving them good tarbiyah? Or are they giving you tarbiyah? So this is how so much dissatisfaction and shubuhat and doubts and chaos can be grown within the community, within the ummah. And the counter action to that is for us to stick to Islam, stick to the Quran and the Sunnah. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين.